This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Hockey playoffs have been amazing yet again this year. What's new? Sky is blue, water is wet. And right now, the great Sean McDonough joins the program on the Progressive Guest Line. He's been calling a bunch of these games for ESPN. He's going to be on Game 3 on Sunday in Montreal between the Canadiens and the Sabres. Sean, pleasure. Thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
It's always good to be with you, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Doing really well.
Good, sir.
Before we get into the series that's beginning tonight, I want to ask you what we watched again last night, because the Minnesota Wild, they're a really good hockey team, as we all know. Maybe the second best in the entire sport, but it has not gone well for that team in the first two games against Colorado. Is this thing going to turn into the Avalanche Invitational?
It might. Obviously it looks like Minnesota's really up against it. Maybe getting back home will help. I think they did not benefit certainly from, coming through a hard series against Dallas and then having to turn right around and play Colorado when Colorado was sitting there waiting for them. So, maybe they'll be a little more ready to go on home ice in Game 3. I think they probably made a mistake making the goalie change last night too, although I certainly understand why they did it. And I do think John Hines is one of the best coaches in the league. So, it's scary. Carolina on the other side looks pretty scary too.
Yes.
I mean, they're not scoring the number of goals that Colorado is. They don't have that kind of firepower, but they're pretty much dominating the play in much the same way.
Well, how much do you think, because we hear, we talk about this all the time. It doesn't matter the sport. I think we might be seeing it right now in the NBA with the Timberwolves against the Spurs, because Minnesota's been there the last 2 years and they have playoff experience. When you look at the Eastern Conference right now, you talk about a Carolina team that makes a run in the playoffs almost every single year, and the other three teams still in it while they're taking on the Flyers with basically no playoff experience, and the other two teams are playing tonight. So how much do you think that's going to factor in here?
Yeah, Carolina definitely has the most experience of those teams in the East. Buffalo and Philly ended long droughts, and then Montreal got a little bit of a taste of it last year, although they were out pretty quickly. So, Carolina has the most experienced team. I think that the same thing for them is going to be what's been true in all these recent years. Do they have enough depth of scoring to score enough to win? They generally keep the goal total down. And that goes hand in hand with the other big question to me, which is the goaltending, which has been phenomenal so far from Freddie Anderson, which is interesting to me because, he was, he had a goals against of more than 3 in the regular season. For most of the year, a lot of the year, Brandon Buster came out of nowhere, was their goalie. To me, that's the thing that's just so interesting as you look at the 8 teams that are left. I mean, who has the best goalie? And we talk all the time about goaltending being the most important thing. It's like having a quarterback in football. A lot of these guys who are manning the nets, the rest of these games are not household names, and it wouldn't surprise me if any of them, started to wobble all of a sudden, which could be a great equalizer.
Yes, good point. I was surprised that Montreal was able to win 3 times on the road in that series, and where you're going to be for Game 3 and Game 4. Is that the best atmosphere and environment in Montreal?
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say it's not even close, but it is close because, there are other great atmospheres in the league, including Buffalo. That place has been going crazy in the Bruins series, and I'm sure it will be again tonight. They might be the 2 most raucous buildings left, but, anywhere these games are being played now, the fan bases are completely into it. And, it's hard to be much louder than any of these places are. I mean, you guys are familiar with Vegas. That's obviously been one of the loudest rinks in the league, if not the loudest since they came into the NHL. So, but it's one of the things I love about the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's really no such thing as home ice advantage anymore. I mean, here in Boston, the Bruins fans are talking about why can't they win a home playoff game? They've lost 6 home playoff games in a row. So, I think that's one of the parts of it that's great. It's nice to have the crowd behind you, but being on home ice is definitely no guarantee of victory, that's for sure.
Well, you're right about the goaltending, and also I would think special teams could play a big role here. Are you surprised how many penalties they've been calling?
Yeah, it seems to be some games more than others, some officials more than others, especially since in a couple of them I didn't think some of the penalties that were being called were all that egregious. I generally think the officiating in the NHL has been excellent, and I'm not reluctant to talk about it when it isn't. And we've talked about officiating very little in the 5 years now that I've been involved back calling the NHL, and because more often than not, they're really not a part of the story. But there have definitely been a couple of games where the penalty count's been high.
Yes.
Well, this series,
then they show the replay, right, and they look like penalties. It has been infrequent when they showed a replay. We said, "Well, that's really not a penalty." Now, maybe it's something that they could let go, but obviously in those instances, they've chosen not to.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about like falling off my couch stunned, but I would be at least mildly surprised if this series beginning tonight doesn't go at least 6-7 games. Would you agree with that?
I definitely would. I think they're two evenly matched teams. I agree with what was just said. I think special teams are important. They're always important. But Buffalo needs to find a way to get their power play going because, against a team like Boston that struggles to score, they didn't have to score a lot, particularly once they changed goaltenders to put Lyon in, and he was terrific after he really changed the series. I mean, they gave up 7 goals in the first 2 games with the other goalie play. They put Lyon in. I think Boston had 5 goals in the other 4 games after he came in. So, and to me, it's what we were talking about, right? He's been impressive. But he's 33 years old. He started, I believe, 7 playoff games in his career. He wasn't the starter for a lot of the year. So, would it surprise anybody if he didn't play as well, especially against a team like Montreal with more firepower? I think the other thing that works against Buffalo is they're the worst face-off team in the league. And you keep giving a team like Montreal with some firepower, possession of the puck right off the draw. That's another big advantage for the Habs.
Good point. We don't get to talk enough. Certainly, you have an unbelievable career, and no matter the sport, you're top notch. Do you have something that you're most proud of throughout your career?
I appreciate the question. I guess, I was proud when I got the chance to do the World Series for CBS when I was 30 back in 1992. At the time, I was the youngest person, play-by-play person to do the national broadcast of the World Series. And then, I kind of persevered, had a lot of great assignments, but, to come back at age 60 and have the chance to do the Stanley Cup final, you never know if you're going to get another opportunity like that. And, I guess I'm just proud that I worked hard on every assignment that I ever had to hopefully earn the opportunity to do, another marquee event like this. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I mean, I think it's been widely said, and I think it's true. Hockey's never been better. Mm-hmm. The NHL's never been better. The ratings are through the roof.
Yes.
The attendance is up year after year now. And, the game itself is just captivating, which is why more and more people are watching it.
Yeah. I love listening to games that you're on. Do you have a favorite sport, or are they all just like razor thin there?
Yeah, it's razor thin. People ask me what sport you like doing the most. I've had the chance to do 11 sports on national TV, and I've enjoyed all of them.
11?
It probably depends on what season it is. But I think the thing I appreciate most about my situation right now is I'm really doing the 2 sports that I enjoy the most, college football and hockey. If you said to me, you can only do 2, these would be the 2 that I'd pick. So blessed to have a chance to do both of them, and especially at this time of the year. There's nothing better than playoff hockey.
Can you name 11 sports on national TV?
Yeah.
What? Give me some of the fringe ones.
Do we have a quiz? Do you guys want to guess?
Like boxing?
No.
No?
Well, the 4 that would be considered major, although now soccer's major, right? And I'm going to have to remember. So soccer would be 5, golf 6, tennis 7, lacrosse 8, bobsled and luge in the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
9 and 10, and the Boston Marathon would be 11.
That's absolutely incredible.
Nailed it.
Wow.
All right.
Jeez.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
I just feel blessed, right? I mean, I grew up wanting to do this, following my dad around, and, dreaming someday of having a chance to do any of those things. And, to have had a chance to do all of them, I'm just grateful beyond measure. Wake up every day and thank God for the life that he's given me, because it's a dream come true. It really is.
Very cool. And again, you're going to be on games 3 and 4 up in Montreal between the Canadiens and the Sabres. Game 3 is going to be on Sunday.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, we were up there last year for the 4 Nations face-off. It's the best building in the league. It's the most passionate fan base. The atmosphere is great in all these places, but Montreal is unique and really special, and I can't wait to get up there.
Yeah, can't wait to watch and listen as well. Sean, that was awesome. Thanks so much for the time. Have great calls this weekend.
Thank you, my friends. As I said, always great to be with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sean McDonough.
Brought to you by Francetic Tax Resolution. Most important for anyone who bets, it's books, casinos, poker. Those winnings can create tax issues if they're not handled properly. Paul Francetic has helped gamblers resolve those problems for over 20 years, and right now he's offering a free gambler tax problem consultation, 262-752-6992, or visit gamblertaxhelp.com. Gamblertaxhelp.com. Paul Francetic.
When he said 11, I was like, I think I can get to 8, maybe 9.
I'm thinking darts then or something.
Sure.
Crazy.
Yeah, win, lose next, and we'll discuss some prediction markets. I ran this by someone who has been in the entertainment industry for a long time. You won't believe his response. Coming up next.
Let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that almost feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit's due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. There's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on the annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, back to the show.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
A lot to get into here with the maestro, Mike Palm. He joins us in studio. He is the VP of Circle Las Vegas. Good to see you, Mike. How are you today?
Hello, Mitch. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Mike.
So the NFL, we'll get into this coming up. I know that Paulie talked about it yesterday with Swede and Derek Stevens about the schedule, how they might delay that overall schedule release and what that might mean for Circle. Oh, you're shaking your head.
Well, I mean,
you want to talk about it right now? I wanted to save it, but
you do. It's your show, Mitch.
okay, go ahead. No, you're shaking your head.
Paul's show, and you're here a couple times a week, but
occasionally, yeah.
Okay, you got your pods to the future. Well, we were going to come on in 2 weeks on Derek's spot on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, if the schedule would be released when it always is on that second Thursday or whatever, the third Thursday, be fine. But now we're hearing rumors of maybe a delay in the release. Really, all we can be concerned about, to be honest with you, is how's the Christmas and Thanksgiving fall. That's the only real fluctuation that could hamper the rules. But if it isn't out, I mean, it could only come out that day, I heard, on the 19th when he and I were going to come on. If it comes out that late, he's probably just going to come on and do his normal thing, and then I will probably push my spot to Thursday that week if possible, and then give all the details. Maybe little Jeff Benson.
We'll have the chair for him.
Gene Mock.
Yeah,
the chair was that low.
Well, it was
That's
broken.
still one of the funniest scenes in VSiN history.
I should have got up.
Nah, I don't.
We'll get the chair for him.
It lives on till today.
Very good.
You guys would need a little bit of time to let it breathe before you can just come on and say, hey, here are the rules, even though it was just announced an hour ago.
Yeah, is that 100% that there is a Thanksgiving Eve game? I mean,
who knows?
No, we don't know. So we have
that's
to wait.
huge.
We might have to pivot.
Huge.
We might have to pivot a little bit.
No doubt, my man. What do you tip a masseuse?
Masseuse, that's very interesting. I'll tell you a story about the Philippines. It's probably not relevant to today, but
Is this on air?
No.
yeah, you can tell it on air.
It's clean? Okay. All
My
right.
first wife and I went to the Philippines in 2010. It's an interesting story. And we traveled all about the country. We were in her province. And then we came back and we stayed the last 2 nights in Manila before we flew home. She went 2 weeks before me. So she was there for a month, and then I came for 2 weeks and we went home. So we stayed in like what would be considered like a long-term rental, but a nice place in Manila, right? And we got there and they had a spa down in the basement, right? So I told her the first night, I said, I'm going to go get a massage, right? We traveled around and we're around these jeepneys and all this. So I now the dollar is very strong there, right? So I got a 1 hour full body massage that was given by 2 young ladies, right? And I asked them what the charge was. In terms of US dollars, it was $6.
Oh, my good Lord.
I gave them a 20. I gave them, they wept. They were weeping like that's what they make in a month, right? I didn't think anything more of it, right? Spa was open from noon to 10 p.m. So I'm sitting there having breakfast with my wife the next day, and the phone rings. My wife picks up the phone. She's like, "Oh, really? Yeah, yeah." She comes over to me. She says, "That was the spa. They just said they're opening early at 9 a.m. today. If Mr. Palm would like to come back." What in the blank went on down there last night? I said, "Come on, we'll go. I'll take you. I'll treat." But I mean, I was tipping them 2.5 times or whatever the service was. I always tip $20 to $40. It's very important. If you find a good masseuse, right, Paul? You know, with the back problems,
just went.
It's very important.
Right. You just went too?
I just went yesterday to the
30%?
That's what you took the day off for, a massage?
That's not the, but that's not the reason why I took the day off, but it was quite necessary, and I did it anyway.
Yeah.
It was, I give like $40
Yeah.
for the tip.
Huge.
She was super happy.
Yeah. Like with
So
that.
unless she's acting, I don't know.
No.
Like with that and haircuts, whole different ballgame.
Oh yeah, I would
We
agree.
have a lot of power.
How much you tip for that haircut?
Well, this is a great haircut.
Yeah. How much?
I look awesome.
Well, what's a haircut cost you first?
I
of
look
all?
awesome
It's got to
today.
be 150 plus.
I'm very proud of this.
150 plus for your hair.
It depends on. I mean, I tip. So I just had my haircut over the weekend as well. Another reason why I took a couple of days off. I tipped 20. I tipped 20 on the haircut.
I've never been that generous, but I always had barbers that been working for many years. Yeah.
What do you tip? I'm big into tipping, probably because my wife and I have moved 6,000 times. I am big into tipping movers.
Beforehand,
right
you have
away.
to do this stuff before. Yeah, when
Right
they
away.
arrive,
Set the tone.
when they arrive with the truck.
That's exactly
Set the
right.
tone.
And when you set the tone, they are incredible.
Get
Their
in and out,
attitude
too.
completely changes.
Yep.
Then.
Let's go.
I even just went and we ordered some new furniture and all that, right? And they're going to deliver it from the store. I said, "How many guys are coming?" She said 3. I gave the lady at the store 60. I said, "This is for the drivers. I'll tip them up front, $20 each, right? Take care of the stuff."
For sure. Another thing, you don't want any broken glass or anything like that.
Handle with care.
Let me ask you this. So the story came out today. David Purdom was all over this at ESPN.com. Brendan Sorsby, not looking good for the, I guess, what do we still call him? The Texas Tech quarterback?
He'll be in the NFL soon.
Is
Yeah.
Cincinnati still suing him?
Probably.
Yeah.
One of the states in which he was betting in was Kentucky.
Yeah.
So Circa is in Kentucky.
Yeah, I can confirm he did not have an account in Kentucky.
Okay.
But multiple states have reached out to us inquiring if he did.
They have.
Yes.
And then so you guys have to do the
And then we
digging
say,
and look
yeah,
into it.
he did not. If he did, we would turn over the information.
So how about the one report was that he was betting, he had accounts under other people's names. How would you ever figure that out?
Well, that's the tough thing. I mean, the kids in Iowa got caught because they were using their parents' accounts, right? I mean, they traced it, and you can geolocate the phone. These companies can geo where your phone was. Like in Iowa, the bets were coming from the dorms in Iowa City and Ames, right? And then they were traced back. They were using their parents' accounts.
A couple of things I've heard about that from parents who have kids around that age. They said it's unbelievably off the charts in terms of how popular this is, and they all use their parents' names.
I said, and this was 3 years ago. We just had our AGA board meeting, American Gaming Association. I think this was a meeting 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, and I said, why can't you just require on all sports betting apps facial recognition to open the app? That would take away the parents, the kids using the parent. And they said, you know how expensive that would be? So that was the
comeback. Huh?
That was the answer.
Yeah, because I've seen other people with like in charge of like some of these apps. They have said that their geolocation is so good, they can detect if you got up off the couch and went to the fridge. Like that's pinpoint accuracy.
When we were in Iowa in Nebraska, whatever, in Iowa at the College World Series, there's the bridge, right? There's the bridge from Omaha over into Iowa. And, they have the marcation on the bridge right in the middle of the river. You're now in Iowa. You are now in Nebraska. I mean, when you're using your apps, Jensen Lewis made this walk many times a day to go over the bridge, right?
Yeah.
You got 3 steps over the line. You suddenly were located into the state of Iowa so you could make your wagers.
Incredible. Sharp money with these NBA playoff games. Are you guys seeing just tons of San Antonio money?
There is San Antonio money. Everybody's going all in on the Knicks money line. I mean, we've taken 4 6-figure bets on the Knicks money line. Because of the Embiid news, and then the sharps will buy back the board cleaners, right? Because the price gets so out of whack here, they can arbitrage the Sixers price. Then.
Good term.
Yep.
Good term. I'll do this later. This Vegas series is out of whack with the series. They were outplayed in game 1.
Well, they were outplayed the entire Utah series,
Yes.
Paul.
Yeah.
No,
Paul, I
really.
went to the game last. I took Maddie, my son, to the game, the double overtime game.
Right.
It's incredible watching him live, like how slow the Knights are and how much faster Utah was. That now Anaheim doesn't necessarily play that style where their speed's going to take advantage of them. But they get outplayed in all these games, and they just keep winning. And this whole third period scoring margin, what they were the best in the NHL,
right.
It's come to fruition in the playoffs. They're just dominating the third period.
But Hart was great in game one. He's got to prove it again. He was awesome. But feel free to score in front of an open net, too.
It's okay.
If you're Anaheim. Is Derek going to be okay with all these giveaways? Every time the Cubs have a walk-off.
Well, I mean, they're I think they've caught the Padres from a few years ago, and we just into May. You can't bury this team.
No.
These Cubs, you can't put them away at home.
Oh, my God.
You can't put them away. Every night's a walk-off.
A lot of trips
It's all right.
to give
That's
away
good.
for Derek.
We want people to come here.
Sure. This is excellent as well. A couple bartenders told me this, and there was an incident with Bill Simmons, and this is active content. So you have, like, if you and you're a Knicks fan, you want to go to a bar in New York, they can only put the game on, like, one TV. Because if it's on Amazon you can sign into one device.
Oh my God! I never thought about that.
I never thought because at home I don't try to sign into multiple devices.
Wait a
at
second,
home.
I'm over here. I can't. No, he can't.
Well, that's
we
the
only get one
problem.
TV,
You don't have
one
our
device.
system like we have, where you sign into the system and then you put it here, there, and everywhere. But these bars, they just have separate TVs.
And then Bill Simmons loves the Celtics. He was ready for the playoff game, but then his dad and daughter were signed in on his account, and it's like too many people signed in. You can't watch.
Sure.
He goes, what's going on here? It's my account.
He was shut out.
He shut out his own account.
This is nuts.
Too many mouths on the payroll. That's a problem.
Well, also, what are we doing, by the way, in the NBA by playing these games at the same time?
Well, it's ridiculous.
That was weird.
It's ridiculous.
That was ridiculous.
3:30 and 4:30 or whatever. What are they doing?
I don't understand this.
At least hockey is always it's 2.5 hours, which is a little bit of a tight gap. But at least, and the second game's going to start late.
Well, but for the most part.
How about it when I was at that game at the end of regulation?
Yeah.
His mother calls me and says, "Are you guys on your way home?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, he has school tomorrow. I said, "Let me tell you something. If this goes 4 more overtimes, he ain't going to school. Are you nuts? This is the playoffs. We aren't going home. It's too late. It's too late. Forget about it." We got home by 11:45 that night. He said he doesn't even have a test tomorrow. What are you, 4th grade? Come on.
Made it no problem?
Get serious. He wouldn't have left. He wouldn't have let me take him out of there.
I'm sure.
You know that? He's a psychopath.
Good.
Although he was in bad spirits. I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He goes, "This power play is pathetic." He says, "If I'm Utah with a 1-goal lead, I take a penalty every 2 minutes."
It's like Buffalo. How are you that bad?
I'm very interested in this series. This is going to be a much different series for both of these teams. There's going to be a lot more open ice than either of them got in their first series, and they'll have to adjust. I hope that teams don't think they can win taking 4 shots on goal now.
More with the Maestro coming up. Of all the WNBA teams in the entire world, you cannot be serious coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We continue here Wednesdays with the Maestro. Mike Palm is the VP of Circle Las Vegas. Time now for You Cannot Be Serious.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
All right, here we go. Let's start out with Raven Johnson. Raven Johnson, people probably best know her from the 2023 Women's NCAA semifinal game when Caitlin Clark really stormed onto the national scene when they made the Final Four and they took on undefeated #1 South Carolina, who'd won like 70-some straight games. Raven Johnson was the girl that Caitlin Clark sloughed off into the free throw lane when she was at the three-point line and dared her to shoot threes. Couldn't hit a three. Remember back then, she was just a freshman. Caitlin was a junior. Well, come full circle now, Raven has graduated, and who do you think drafted her? Of course, the Indiana Fever drafted her. Now, she makes headlines this week when after practice and talking to reporters, she commented on her head coach, Stephanie White's wife, Lisa Salters, formerly of ESPN and ABC, Lisa Salters. Here's what Raven Johnson says. Don't tell her this, referring to Stephanie White, but her wife came to practice the other day and, dang, you got some taste. She's wildly attracted to her head coach's wife. Now, I like to translate things from the WNBA to the NBA. I was trying to think of some situations. From present day, how about if Jaylen Brown commented on Cammie Mazzulla and how hot she was? Will you think about that? What about if Shaq talked about Jeannie Buss while she was dating Phil Jackson? This league is, as much as you try to make it into the mainstream, there's so many dynamics that are beyond belief. Raven Johnson,
You cannot be serious!
All right, number two, we have to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the hiring of GM John Chayka. We could take 30 minutes on this. We could take a whole show, talk about John Chayka and how in God's name an organization could have hired him. I can't say it better than Steve Simmons questioning the hiring at the introductory press conference. Let's listen.
Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, for Keith. You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say, 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring, and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion than I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence. It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
So Chayka was a wonder kid analytics geek, right? And in 2016, at the age of 26, Mitch, was hired as the general manager of the Phoenix Coyotes. He was the youngest GM in the league by over 12 years. And a move that was as much disruptive as it turned out to be fatal. His marquee move during his tenure in Phoenix was to destroy the only bright spot the Coyote fans had had for 20 years, Shane Doan. Shane Doan had requested to come back and play once last season with the Coyotes. In other words, take a retirement lap as their franchise player. He even said he would play third or fourth line. After the meeting with Chayka, what did Chayka do? He released him. The tenure that he had them playing below 500 hockey. They were terrible in the 3 drafts that he oversaw, netting no quality top-line players that would last with the organization. And then, of course, the ending. The ending came just as the team and almost everybody that year, remember, qualified for the bubble in Edmonton? Everybody got in. You had 12 seeds in both divisions. On the night before Phoenix was going to start playing the bubble, he left the organization, quit on the team. They've issued a long statement saying he's quit on this organization, the Phoenix Coyotes. He's quit on the players. He stabbed us all in the back. Okay? Now, it comes out that he was interviewing with other teams while he was still the GM of the Coyotes. He still had 3 years left on his contract. Bettman comes out after he leaves the team and suspends him, saying he cannot work in hockey for a year. All right? Then they had to forfeit their first and second round picks for 2 years because they were running illegal skills testing during the combine with these players. So not only did he leave them in a state of disrepair, he left them without their top draft picks for 2 or 3 years. Longtime hockey reporter John Gambaroa said this: "It is truly incredible that the Toronto Maple Leafs would hire Chayka. He was a total fraud in Phoenix. Cost the Coyotes first and second round picks for cheating, quit before the team was in the bubble, stabbed Don Maloney in the back to get the gig. The way he treated Doan was despicable. He wanted him gone and was so jealous of him, would not even allow him to play on the third line. And his only connection is Toronto, is his friendship with Shane and therefore Ty Domi." Simmons is completely correct in asking this. Oh, and what has Chayka done since he's been out of hockey for 5 years? Well, they own Wendy's. Him and his wife have a company. They own 50 Wendy's and 5 Tim Hortons restaurants in Ontario. This is the most disastrous GM hiring, I believe. And then you hire Sundin to be your senior advisor who has no front office experience at all. Toronto Maple Leafs!
You cannot be serious!
All right, and then let's wrap it up on this. Has PK Subban lost his mind? Yeah, do you watch what this guy wears night in and night? First of all these studio shows are a joke. I keep telling Stormy that. It doesn't matter if it's TNT. It doesn't matter if it's ESPN. The hockey studio show. They're like, what did they do? Watch the CBS coverage of the men's tournament and say, hey, these studio shows look good. This is a great improvement. Just analyze the games. That's all you have to do. Instead they do all this shtick. And Subban, one night he's dressed in a skirt like a kilt. The next night he's dressed on some Teflon looking like an alien. How can people take this seriously?
Then they read the tweets about the attire.
Oh, yeah. What about a professionalism here? You're on a major network covering the playoffs of a top 4 sport and all this nonsense. This is not setting an example for standards. PK Subban.
You cannot be serious.
All right. Good job. Mina Kimes,
Yeah.
the new
Wow.
announcer for the spelling bee. A lot of people said, I'm jealous. That's a bucket list. I always wanted to be a game show host. And you're going back and your rankings, and we're watching Wayne Brady right now.
Yeah.
Who did you think the best one? Did you ever wanted to be a game show host?
Well, I watched him. Wink Martindale on Tic Tac Toe was very. I like the trivia
Wink.
type shows where you had to answer questions. I thought Wink Martindale was very polished, very good. Joker's Wild was good. Jim Cullen. These are names going pretty far back. I like Jim Lang. You know, at one time he was Hollywood Squares, but I best remember for Name That Tune. Jim Lang was very good. And Jim Perry, one of the most underrated game shows of all time. Jim Perry was a singer, by the way. He did Card Sharks at the beginning. Eubanks did it at the end.
You love
after
Eubanks.
Newlywed Game.
Yeah.
Jim Perry did a show called Sale of the Century.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that? Go
Yes.
back and watch some episodes. It's a rapid trivia show, but then you buy things and you're trying to get value and all. It was a great show. So Jim Perry on Sale of the Century.
And you were telling us during one of the breaks that on The Price is Right, there was a guy who studied every single prize they ever gave away. Go
He
ahead.
had memorized every item's price that they had done over like 6 years on the show. And he waited. He finally got called down. He nailed it. When you first get up there, he got the $100 bonus. He guessed it to the dollar. He knew all the prices of all the little items and everything. It was unbelievable. And he had done it through memory. This is not cheating, right? Just like the guy at Press Your Luck
Press
that
Your Luck.
memorized the pattern.
I memorized the
That's
pattern.
not cheating.
Right.
Now, it's cheating. Somebody's coughing in the audience when the right choice comes up.
Banging on the trash can. That's cheating. Yeah.
That's cheating. Not using your intellect to figure
Sure,
things out.
right.
How about overrated?
Well, Sajak, I always say.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
He
this.
wrote in his book they'd go across the street and get hammered every day.
Well, what did they have to do?
That sounds like a great
what
gig.
did he have
Yeah,
to do?
no kidding.
He didn't even
Van
have to know how to spell the word. The letter lit up for the two of them. It's not like they even had to know what the phrase was.
the best job ever. It's like you got to thank your lucky stars is Vanna White. I mean, come on. 30 years, 40 years doing that.
You know what? I thought Trebek was overrated. Not that he wasn't good, but when you're rated like you're the best. I mean,
Pompous.
he was. Do you think he knew it? At least Jennings and these guys know the answers. They're just super smart. Like he went, oh no, that's right. Like you knew it. Come on, Trebek.
Absolutely.
Come on, Trebek.
Absolutely.
I will not stand for the
Come on.
Trebek slander.
Yeah, that was
Whoa,
fun.
Not on my watch.
How about when Al in Boston, you asked him the question because he watches Jeopardy every day. And what do you think of Trebek? I can't stand him. You weren't expecting that answer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The guy's revered.
I know, very good at his
You can only really
job,
be
but-
overrated if you're very highly rated. So I don't feel I'm being.
How do we
Talent.
know that Trebek did not know the answers?
I'm assuming.
Come on.
I'm assuming.
I don't like talking
I look at
down.
the body of his life. I don't know that
Talking down to the people for
Yeah.
a bad answer or guess. Not right.
No, it's not right. Oh, so close. No,
No,
that's none of the three.
That actually
That's none of the three.
didn't that make the show actually better when he would do that?
I don't know. I just watched it for the interviews in the first break.
At the end of the first
You
break.
have he'd say you have an interesting story, and the person would tell a story that's totally uninteresting.
My God, we're up against here like 20 seconds. Do you have a best bet for tonight?
I think no, not necessarily for tonight. I think the Wild might get swept. John Hines is going to try to tell you Gus played good last night. You can't lie to the players in the room. Nobody wants them in there. They need to go back to Wallstead if they're even going
Have
to get
to.
one game.
Have to.
I don't see them getting more than one, though.
All right. Great job, Mike.
Thank you.
Up next, Otto Whack futures in Paulie's eyes. He'll explain coming up.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSIN.
Thanks for checking in, watching as always on YouTube TV, listening on Sirius XM channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. Coming up this hour in 15 minutes, we'll get to tonight's playoff action on the betting board. Bottom of the hour, tons of games to come yet in Major League Baseball. And right now we head out to the Progressive Guest Line, talk some golf as Wes Reynolds joins the program, does his weekly write-ups at vsin.com. Follow him on X at Wes Reynolds 1. Hey, Wes, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm well, guys. Good to be with you.
Yeah. So when you get into this tournament, the Truist at Quail Hollow, and you look at overall the experience here, Rory has won 4 times in the past. incredible. And he's at the top of the odds board without Scotty Scheffler in the event this week. Are you approaching it from the winner without markets, or are you just going to go full steam ahead and say, I don't care, I'll beat Rory without that involved?
Yeah, Mitch, I just went with the regular market. I certainly understand why people would go with the without, considering that Rory has dominated, like you said. It's his birthday week, so maybe the rust won't matter, considering he hadn't teed it up since the Masters. And I'm probably a big idiot for not betting Cameron Young again like last week. You know, I should just bet this guy every time because he's the guy I think maybe I have figured out this season. I'm trying to figure out the rest of the tour, but Cameron Young has been my winners so far this year. But looking past those two guys, but I'm not going too far down the board because this is now an elevated event and has been for the last couple of years. So if you look at the winners' history, you'll see some real bombs that have won this event, but that's just when it was the Wells Fargo, when it was just a regular PGA Tour event. It wasn't a signature event. So it's really hard to look for complete and total bombs in this event.
Okay. So you're not on Cam Young, I'm guessing just based because the number now is cut where it's been in previous tournaments for him.
Yeah, pretty much. You still see for the PGA Championship at Aronimink next week, he's still in the mid-teens. I've seen some 16-1s and whatnot out there. I know that's a lot worse number than you could have got at the beginning of the year, but that's still a pretty fair number, I think, considering the fact that some markets still have him priced below Rahm and DeChambeau. And I think that that's obviously a big mistake right now, considering maybe where those guys' heads are at in terms of where their next employment is going to be if that tour goes away.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So Xander Schauffele, the runner-up at this event, the last two times it was at Quail Hollow, and he is third on the odds board around plus 1125. Is that where you're going to start your portfolio this week? Okay.
Yeah, it is, Mitch. 4 top 10s in his last 6 starts. And you mentioned twice the runner-up here. Actually, the last time the Truist has been held at Quail Hollow, 23 and 24. And all the other elite guys have kind of won this season. There's been a clear separation with the top 4 with Scotty, Rory, Matt Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young. But this is the time of year where Xander usually has the most success. Despite the fact that he's a San Diego guy, he never seems to win on the West Coast swing. He wins most of his events in the spring or into the summer. 10 PGA Tour victories altogether. 9 of them have come in the spring or later in the season. So Xander, I think, has kind of been on that precipice of really getting through. And then obviously, your derivative market, like your placement market, your top 10, automatic bet, I think, this week on Xander if you're not getting there on the outright.
All right. How about here at Circa, 45-1, 44? Ricky Fowler?
Ricky's been playing better golf of late. I know he hadn't been in contention a lot, but a couple straight top 10 finishes, T9 last week at Doral. He's trying to improve that world golf ranking. He's 52nd right now, so he'd be inside the number, but you got to be inside the top 60, I think, from about 2 weeks from now to get into the U.S. Open. Keep in mind, he missed the Masters. That's why he played the Valero the week before. 14 years ago, he won his first PGA Tour event right here at Quail Hollow and has been putting together solid golf. And this wouldn't be a surprise if you see him on the leaderboard. He has played very well at this course, despite the fact that he's not as long off the tee as some of the other guys. And this is a 7,600-yard course. So, he could still get it out there, though. And I'm trusting Ricky. I think he's in a good frame of mind. He's starting to put together consistent finishes.
Okay. How do you like Obear this week? Around 18-1.
Yeah, I think I've got a lot of company. He is very popular this week, and I think for good reason. 4 top 5s last 5 starts. He did not play at Doral last week, which kind of surprised me. I was like, man, that guy would seemingly fit that course, but I think he's got the talent really to fit any course. And he's won on big, long courses before. Remember, he won the Genesis when it was held at Torrey Pines last year. And I think despite the fact that that's not really a tree line course out there in San Diego, there is a strong correlation simply because of the length, simply because it's so driver heavy off the tee. Like, this is not a club down type of course. So you look at the distance and Ludwig is right up there, top 10, top 15 in this field, driving distance in terms of strokes gained off the tee. He's really been solid. It's just getting to that Sunday and being able to finish it off, which he wasn't able to do at the Players.
About 2 guys in the 50 to 55-1 range, please.
Yeah, Kurt Kitayama, who overcame a slow start at Doral last week. He was 66 out of 72 players in Miami, rallied and finished T9, number 4 in ball striking on the PGA Tour, number 9 in total driving. We know he's always been a bomber, the former UNLV player, but now he's got a little bit of accuracy. And Kurt Kitayama starting to put together some really quality finishes in all these elevated events. Nikolai Højgaard as well, 55-1. Finished second to Gary Woodland in Houston when Woodland kind of ran away and hid in that Sunday final round. Nikolai last week, second in distance at Doral, 6 for strokes gained off the tee. I think he'll really take to this course where he could just use his best weapon, which is the driver.
Very good. Wes Reynolds, our guest here on the Progressive Guest Line. Follow him on X at Wes Reynolds1. Also, one of the hosts on our very popular podcast here at VSiN called Long Shots. They break down events on the PGA Tour every single week. So there you go with your outrights for this week at the Truist. NBA tonight, a couple of games on the board. Did you do anything with this Knicks-Sixers game after we heard many hours ago this morning that Embiid was not going to be playing?
Yeah, I did, and I liked the Sixers originally just because I felt it was kind of the perfect storm for the Knicks on Monday night, right? Philly just came off a Game 7 on Saturday, 1 day of rest, and you could tell the energy just wasn't there early, and the energy was there with the Knicks, and they blew them out. But I think the way to approach this now that the number has moved, I would look first half, and you're getting some 6.5s. I don't know if a 7 pops, but you've been reading the same stuff I've been reading. It's all Knicks money, seemingly, that everybody's all aboard the Knicks right now. And when that happens, that concerns me. I like Philly in the first half plus 6.5. And I think if you want to bet against the Knicks, but you're a little gun shy betting the Sixers on the spread without Embiid, I think you could look at Knicks team total under. I think I'm seeing 112.5 right now. And I know the Knicks have scored 403 points in the last 3 games, the last 2 at Atlanta, and then, of course, Monday night. But I think you're getting some shooting regression here with this team tonight. So 112.5 still looked a little bit high to me.
Yeah, 63% from the floor last game. And what was it, 51% from 3? Okay.
And we saw that with Boston, too, in the first round. Remember when they blew the Sixers out by 30?
Yep.
And then the second game, the shooting kind of dissipated a little bit and Philly was able to bounce back. Like, this is a team that a lot of people were given a chance to win this series. And now it's like, okay, Embiid's out. And I mean, the guy misses a ton of games. So they're obviously better with him, but they've played without him enough, I think. So that's why I'm kind of shortening the game here and looking at first half plus 6.5.
Wes, what about the second game tonight then? Anything here for you with the opening number right after the game on Monday night? As soon as San Antonio lost, they opened up 10.5 at DraftKings. Circa opened up 9. So I was wondering where this number was going to go. And then it just, after a day and a half or so, money on San Antonio went back to 10.5 before this game tips off tonight now.
Yeah, and I even saw the Spurs series right after that game, like as low as 175, and now you're seeing 210, 215. I do think this is a bounce back for San Antonio, but the way I think I'm going to attack it is wait until Ant-Man is ruled in. He's listed as questionable, but he apparently was at shoot-around, did go 25 minutes in game number 1, so I would think he's going to play, but maybe wait to see if you get a little tick up with him ruled in, and then go team total under here. I think with Minnesota, because what we saw, and obviously game 1 went way under the total. Minnesota only had 69 points after the third quarter, and they got 35 in the fourth. So that kind of inflates the number because they went a little more small ball. Rudy didn't play a lot in the fourth quarter. I think both these teams guard. Like Denver didn't guard against Minnesota in the first series. San Antonio really guards. I know they're trying to make that goaltending thing where it's like, Wemby's goaltending all the time and it's not being called. So we'll see if the officials use that as a point of emphasis tonight or whether it's just, okay, coaches working the referees in between games and if the officials respond to it. But I think Minnesota under the team total tonight once Ant-Man is ruled in. Desanmu, by the way, also looks like he is going to be back tonight for Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, you like to play a lot of player props as well, and you put up a lot of picks at the picks page at vsin.com. Have you done anything with Wemby's block prop based on what you were saying? It's 4.5. And that juice is all over when you look at different books. So you can basically find plus money on the over and maybe a little bit of like around even money on the under if you wanted to.
I have not, but I do like a player prop in the first game. And it's one I got to learn from because I lost on it the other night. And that's Josh Hart over rebounds and assists. I believe I'm seeing 13.5 right now because I tried to do the points, the rebounds, and the assists. But Josh Hart, keep in mind, he's the fifth option on the floor with the starters. So his points will come and go. Like, they've left him open for a lot of corner threes on Monday night, and he just didn't hit them. And he only ended up with 8 points. And he probably would have went over that 24.5 prop if the game wasn't such a blowout and almost a 40-some point deficit at one point. But the rebounds and the assists, I think, are more trustworthy for Josh Hart if you're playing props. So that's what I'm going to do for the first game tonight.
Very good. Follow Wes on X, again, at Wes Reynolds 1. You can read them every week with the PGA breakdowns at vsin.com. And again, one of the hosts on the very popular podcast here at VSiN called Long Shots. Wes, thank you. Best of luck tonight and this week. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, fellas. Appreciate being on.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we'll get into tonight's other playoff action. Teams that exploded scoring points in the previous game are only 24% in the spots. It's 2015. I'll give you the details on that next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.